If you already had all the knowledge that you think you don't have, which steps would you have to take then? So it is not a weird thing that you feel confused or that it feels heavy. I actually catched COVID. I thought we were already done with that. I was feeling a little bit, I don't know, I was in the gym actually and I felt something coming up. I never ever get sick, but when I do, it is only like a cold of some sort, right? It's like I'm not sick, but there's something, my system is fighting something, right? And it always starts with this behind in my throat. Why do I share all this? Whatever. It always starts in the behind of my throat, and it becomes dry. That is always how it starts. It's very strange. Most of the time it's like 2-3 days, it's over. Anyways, today what I want to talk about is when healing becomes this endless loop. And no matter what you try, something still feels off. Like you're still searching for something to come home to, as you will. And how to stay grounded through that process. Because what I feel and see is that there's so much more happening than you can see with the eyes, energetically. And today I want to go through a couple of perspectives that I've gained and also share a couple of things that might help you going through this process. So when you feel at this moment that something is off, that, like I said, you have tried a lot of things when it comes to healing, when it comes to inner work, all that stuff, but still you don't feel at home within your own body, within your own self. First of all, I want to validate how you feel. And I want to let you know, because often there's this whole narrative of, people screaming to you that you have to get off your butt and be disciplined and all that stuff. But I would even say more than often that's not even the answer. And I will go into a couple of things that worked for me and what I see when it comes to everything that happens on an energetic level, but also collectively, so probably also within you. What happens on the macro, which is also affecting you, is a great breakdown of old energetic operating systems. And if things like that happen in the world collectively, it has an impact on human beings. So from that perspective, I want to validate everybody in what they feel and what is going on from the inside now, because it is affecting us all in a grand scheme. And there are things outside of your control that you have to be aware of, so you can get yourself the right tools to navigate everything that is happening within and without. Wouldn't be the first time that I recorded the whole thing and then it shuts down. Anyways, back into the story. Because what is being asked from us as a collective and what is being asked from you as an individual is a transfer to inner authority. It asks, look, there's always cycles and loops we have to go through, right? But cycles also need to be ended so we can create room for new worlds and new realities. And we are now in the middle of two paradigms, so to say. And what's being asked of us is to shift outer authority to inner power that is not dependent on outside tools or outside authority, but on truth. And within that shift, you can experience that shift, energetic shift, as very intense because it is an update. Let me see how I can explain this. So let's say you have an old phone, right? Eventually, it cannot handle the new software updates anymore because the operating system cannot hold the power of the new software. So how can I explain this in a good way? Maybe you experienced one time that you have an old phone and it cannot handle the new software update because it's not up to date. Like it didn't grow with the power of the new software. So the operating system cannot handle the update because it's not equipped, it's not strong enough. It's made or built for old software. So you can see like this collectively, we have a big software upgrade. But the operating systems of people are running behind on the power of the new software, the new update. It's like trying to channel an enormous extent of electric power through a very thin wire. It's not weird that people are panicking a little bit. The system still has to catch up with the new update. So looking at that situation, you probably need more guidance to ease into this upgrade energetically, to ease into yourself and to create a sort of safety so you know and you feel that you can handle it all. It can be very intense if you don't know what is happening, but you feel all kinds of things, and on top of that you don't know how to deal with it. So let's go through a couple of things when it comes to this whole process, because it's inner, outer, it's all interconnected, right? But first, back to us, back to you. When it comes to healing or upgrading or coming closer to yourself, however you want to speak about it, if we start with what we can do ourselves to come out of this, or not even to come out of it, but to find a way to go through it. Sometimes the question is way more like, how can we come out on the other side? Rather than how do we avoid this or how do we come out of it, right? We have to go through it. So let's go over a couple of things. First of all, the things that are within our control and the things that we can actually do, change to support ourselves more going through this process. And the things that you can do yourself to support yourself, but also the things that make this process more challenging and that we have to become aware of. So the first thing that comes up for me is this constant healing. And I made another episode about that was quite short. And I want to go a little bit deeper into that in this episode, because I see healing really becomes a trap at this moment. Back to the fact that what is being asked of us is going through the upgrade and come out on the other side. Because as long as we think that we have to keep healing stuff to finally be worthy of the life that we actually want, or to finally be worthy of feeling at ease or feeling at peace in our lives, it is something that we can change ourselves, because this constant over-identifying with needing to heal something keeps you addicted to cycles of pain. These constant cycles of having to improve yourself is just a subconscious avoidance of self-acceptance. So you constantly keep yourself away from a situation wherein you are already enough exactly as you are. And that's why we call it a cycle, because it never ends. Because every time you fixed something about yourself, your ego will find a new wound to fix, to chase, or to even create when there's nothing there anymore. Because a part of you doesn't feel safe in knowing that you are already complete. Because what would that mean? If everything is already good as it is, what would that mean? What steps you would have to take? What decisions you had to make? If you already had all the knowledge that you think you don't have, which steps would you have to take then? That is the problem. That is the challenge. What does it mean if you would already be at the position where you would feel whole and complete? Because all these things outside of you, tools or things that you use to keep healing or improving yourself, they can be very helpful. But when they become your identity, they stop you from evolving. That is where it goes wrong. If you replace your inner authority with outside tools or external validation, that is where problems arise. Because if healing and self-improvement becomes an addiction and there's nothing outside of it anymore, it's just another form of self-abandonment, disguised as self-love. It's just rebranded, repackaged. And it can be very subtle, but it always leads to this identity of I'm never enough. It's never enough. And I've struggled with that for a long time. And I also know where it comes from. So that is a very good one to ask yourself, what if it is enough? Because sometimes we have to decide that it is enough. We have to decide that it is enough. More than often, being ready is not a feeling, but a choice. And a decision. Healing is not an identity. That is what I feel in the collective now. Healing is not an identity. Why are we setting up our camps in an environment that is meant to pass through? Not to live in, not to create our home in. That is it. Spiritual bypassing is a real thing. And it happens when we avoid embodied action. When we fail to transfer data into practical actions. And practical doesn't always have to say that we have to do all sorts of things. Sometimes practical is also being present with what is. We have to keep asking ourselves the right questions. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, am I truly healing or am I hiding inside of it? Are things truly changing? Or am I avoiding change? Because in some kind of way, this identity of constant healing, constant self-improvement feels like home. For whatever reason. That is the thing, soul governance versus emotional dependence. For such a long time, we have trusted everything outside of ourselves. Systems, therapy, coaches, gurus, spiritual leaders. Everything comes down. It is the greatest phase of disillusionment. And it all points back to one thing, and that is reconnection with the self, with your own inner authority, with your own voice, your own soul. So it is not a weird thing that you feel confused, or that it feels heavy, or like a lot of things are happening, because it's the truth. Everything comes down, and that will inevitably lead to an identity crisis first, if you didn't found that solid ground within yourself yet. It's normal to feel a little stirred up. It's normal to feel a little bit like, oh my God, everything that I could normally grab onto is dissolving. So I have nothing. There's nothing there. It's here. If there's nothing there, out there, it means it's in there. But of course, when, for example, you have something to grab onto and you are, I don't know, falling down or anything like that, and all in a sudden that thing is gone. Of course you are the disillusionment, you feel panic, of course. It's like a free fall. It's a free fall back into yourself. You have to learn how to reconnect with all the parts within yourself. And you have to give yourself space and grace to move through that. Because it is a journey of destruction and rebuilding and new built trust within the self, where before that we all had put that trust outside of ourselves in any kind of way, because we've all born within the system, and it was created to be like that. It was created to be like that. So it's not all our fault, but we must know that everything is also changing, ever changing. The only thing that is constant is change, and we have to change with it. And that is why we want to delve in to how we can make this process easier for ourselves. Like I said, at this point, the body is a little bit slower than the upgraded consciousness for a lot of people. And that's okay. Just know that everything that you feel now, as long as you stay aware of it and present with everything that you need, and everything you feel now is just a recalibration period after a massive energetic download. So you have to restabilize within yourself. Sometimes the biggest gift you can give yourself is stop trying to speed things up. Just focus on how to feel safe within yourself again, how to regulate your system instead of wanting to elevate it 24/7. Healing isn't linear, it's cyclical. You have to give yourself the space to move through it. And find the perfect dance between surrender and responsibility. Surrender and taking the right aligned actions. But you can do that with way more softness than forcing things upon things that are for a big part outside of your control. So again, the message is inner authority, inner structure, inner strength. The ability to govern your own soul means taking responsibility for the frequency you walk in. No matter what happens, is getting yourself together emotionally, physically, spiritually, so you can actually start to trust yourself. It's choosing alignment over emotional indulgence. And emotionally processing things is of great importance. But eventually it has to lead back to yourself, to your inner authority, to more strength. And I hear a lot of things about regulating the nervous system, and that is also what I'm pointing towards too. But I think it is more than just regulating your nervous system. I don't think it is only about regulating your nervous system into taking action or to feeling safe, but it also comes with creating new experiences, multidimensional, where you can teach your complete system, the brain, your nervous system, which is obviously an extension of your brain, that there are other possibilities, there are other realities. Because that is also what creates the loop, is if we keep looping, we keep experiencing the same things, and we will never find any proof of other possibilities. So there comes a point where you have to get out of your own way and gift yourself with new experiences on all sorts of levels. You need to create new experiences for yourself, so you can actually teach your whole system that there are other possibilities, there are other realities out there that you can create yourself. Because you can be extremely self-aware, but self-awareness without the ability to govern yourself becomes spiritual procrastination. You can have all the awareness in the world, but if you are not able to transmute that awareness into actual lived experience, that's why you keep looping. Because if you are not able to create new experiences, you're going to recreate the same ones. And that's the loop. Nothing is changing if nothing is changing. So let's go over a couple of tools to stabilize the inner field and to support yourself in the most optimal way. So first of all, the basics of the basics. Stop outsourcing your inner knowing to people, things, tools outside of you that are profiting of your confusion. You have to go back to yourself. With that being said, create daily space. It doesn't matter how, because everybody is screaming your ears off that you have to do this, you have to do breath work, you have to do... It doesn't matter. It is that you find a way for yourself. In how you can connect with your inner guidance, your inner voice. The most simplest way is to shut your mouth for 10 minutes a day. Just sit with your own thoughts and see what comes up. Maybe write it down. Anything. You can do meditation. You can do anything. It doesn't matter how you do it. It's that you find a way to reconnect with yourself. What do you need? That is very important, that you create a bond with yourself, a relationship with yourself, in where you can ask yourself the right questions and then give it to yourself. So if you ask yourself, what do I need? And you get the answer, follow that. But be silent. Mic went out this time. Oh my god. Anyways, I have to redo, I think, like 30 minutes. Where I was again, silence. Yeah, practice silence or anything, Just explore what works for you. A lot of people talk about you have to do meditation, you have to do breath work. But it's rarely the tool of itself. It's more that you find a way that works for you, where you can reconnect to your inner self and feel safe within yourself and go back to center. It's way more about that. And that is why it's so important to get to know yourself. So you know what you need. And then you can create a toolbox. And you can use the tool that is most suitable for whatever is happening or present. A little bit back to what I said about clarity. Sometimes clarity doesn't come before action. Sometimes clarity is a direct result of taking action. So in that case, you also have to see for yourself, when do I need more clarity before I take action? And when do I need to take action so I can get more clarity? That is a very important thing to know for yourself. Because also that can result in staying stuck. If you always first need full clarity before you move, you're going to recreate that cycle and that loop. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And if you don't create other experiences outside of your comfort or outside of the things you know, that means you're going to create the same experience, and that means you create your own endless loop of nothing ever changing. In the end, it's all about learning to move from our own inner authority and stop being dependent on outside forces. Because this is a big narrative. I see a lot of people, they are waiting to be saved. And it sounds sad, but there's a lot of people that truly believe that there's something outside of them coming to save them one day. If you're going to wait around for that, it's the same with Jesus. They have been yelling for years that Jesus is coming to save them. And I believe in Jesus. I believe in Jesus. But he might be a representation of some sort of consciousness that you have to embody yourself. I believe in Jesus, so I have to be alive in him and all that he represented. Believe it, embody it, being it. But what do I know? In the end, it doesn't matter what you believe. What matters are the things that you say to believe an actual representation of your life? Are the things that you believe in actively changing your life for the better? There's great power in simplicity. So ask yourself, what do I truly know to be true? And what am I refusing to avoid any longer? And every day you can ask yourself from that place, what am I going to embody today? Because talk is cheap, and waiting is transferring responsibility to something outside of yourself. Because everything what is happening now in the world collectively, outside of ourselves and within ourselves, is a shift that is leading to one point, and that is full integration. We have been dancing around the fire for way too long, and now it's time to stand in it and to become it. We did a lot of work already. And I'm so, there's a lot of darkness, but I'm so proud of each and every one who did the work, the real work. Because it wasn't nothing. It was serious work. And we came a long way. But we have to see and recognize that healing was never meant to become your home. It was meant to bring you home. And now it's time to come home. It's time to come home. Know this feeling of being soul level tired. And I came to the realization that the longer we keep studying the wounds, our wounds, the collective wounds, the more we tend to forget the medicine that we already carry inside of us. We need systems. We need systems to bring everything that we have learned and that we have processed back to earth, back into the body. We need to use this compost to build new worlds, to create new realities. Because if we let the compost just stay outside of our house without putting it to use, no wonder it's going to stink and rot. We have to put it to work to create something new out of it. And it's time to do that. Or else it just keeps cycling. It stays empty. We are ready. We are so ready to create something new. You are so ready to create something new. It's just making a decision to put things into form. To give them life, give them new life. Ask yourself the right questions. Wherever you are in your journey, ask yourself the right questions. If you keep trying to heal your fear of being seen, being fully seen for who you are, maybe you're meant to be seen while you're still afraid. If you still try to heal the lack of love that you got throughout your life, maybe it's time to love yourself. Because more often the things that you truly want and what you are searching for is one decision away. The decision to walk in truth. To take action and to align your life with that truth instead of fear. If you do that long enough, you will feel embodied. That is what embodiment is. Put it into action, put it into movement, become it. So much so that you don't have to think about it anymore. You don't need a lot. Don't overflow yourself. Doesn't make sense? Overflow yourself. What I mean to say is don't give yourself the space for the upgrade. Like what we talked about. Easy. Carry yourself with grace. And at the same time, you want to feel into, okay, what is that one thing that I can do today that is aligned with my new truth, my new way of being, or my future self? Anything connected to anything that moves the energy forward based on your truth, based on who you truly are. You just need one thing a day. One thing a day, every day, and your life will significantly change. I promise. Beloofd. See it as a transition. With that being said, just know you are in the greatest paradigm shift. And you have a decision to stay in the old one or to jump to the new one. And the new one isn't far away. You are so close. It's just a matter of keep taking aligned actions to lead from the soul instead of fears, wounds, all that old stuff that is holding you back from who you truly can become. To become a person that no longer needs to be held because you've learned to hold yourself, because you remembered how to hold yourself through everything in life. So that's it for today, chulas. That's it for today. No. Ik ga het hierbij laten. And I see you all next time. Oh, and by the way, if you want help with asking yourself the right questions, I've created something that I desperately needed when I needed it, and it wasn't there, so I created it myself. It is the 5 Gates of Feminine Liberation, a full recalibration of your emotional landscape, asking yourself the right questions. I go over a variety of topics: toxic relationship, addictions, everything that leads to you getting back into your own power. So if you want to check that out, I leave the link in. Just follow the link and you will get all your questions answered when it comes to that. Inner space, carry yourself with grace.